Yale University and University of Pennsylvania estimated that when you throw that many low-income and working-class people off of health care, some 50,000 people a year will die. Tell me why you think it's a good idea to give tax breaks to billionaires and allow 50,000 low-income and working-class people to die unnecessarily.
Bernie Sanders went up against MAGA henchman Scott Bessent. Bernie got to question Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary in a Senate Finance Committee hearing. So we're going to take a look at Bernie Sanders grilling this MAGA goon, Scott Bessent. I will share my thoughts on this as well. Let's get into it together.
Their health care and their health care costs are going to go up as well.
Well, we'll argue on that one. Senator Sanders.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Mr. Bessent, for being here. Help me out here. My understanding is the Trump administration has, I think, 13 billionaires in office right now, leading government agencies. Is that about right, do you think?
I have no idea, Senator.
I think that's what the number is. Do you think it's a coincidence, given the large number of billionaires in the Trump administration, that this particular piece of legislation would provide $235 billion in tax breaks to the top 0.2% by expanding the exemptions in the estate tax?
Senator, I will tell you that when the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act passed, my tax rate went up.
Well, I don't know your exact situation, but I can tell you. Tell me about how many people do you think are in the top 0.2%?
Sorry?
Number of people in the top 0.2% who would benefit from this particular $235 billion tax break?
Well, I know the top 10% is
right.
now paying 7%.
That's not the question.
The total tax.
My question is, why do you think at a time of unprecedented income and wealth inequality, when people like yourself economically have never, ever had it so good, why do you think it's a good idea to cut Medicaid for low-income and working-class people by $700 billion to give $235 billion in tax breaks to the very, very, very richest people in this country, perhaps a few hundred families? Please justify that and tell me about that.
Well, Senator, I don't know, but the Democrats had the trifecta, and there was no tax increase or wealth tax on billionaires. You choose.
I'm not talking about a tax.
You chose not to do that.
Mr. Bessent, I am not talking about a wealth tax. Explain. A few hundred of the wealthiest families in this country, $235 billion tax break. Explain to the American people why you think that's a great idea.
I think that this will increase small businesses substantially. That most small businesses, they are...
Has zero to do with, come on, you're smarter than that. This is the top 0.2%. This is not a mom and pop store. These are multi-billionaires, and the savings go to their kids after they pass away. This is nothing more than a gift to billionaires in this country.
Well, sir, that's just not correct, because the top 10% paid a bigger share of taxes after TCJA.
I'm talking about one provision in this. I don't want to argue with you about taxes in general. One provision, few hundred families, $235 billion in tax breaks. You can't justify that because morally it is totally unjustifiable. Let me ask you another question. If you guys want to cut $1 trillion in Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, the estimate from CBO, I believe, is that over 15 million people lose their health insurance. Yale University and University of Pennsylvania estimated that when you throw that many low-income and working-class people off of health care, some 50,000 people a year will die. Tell me why you think it's a good idea to give tax breaks to billionaires and allow 50,000 low-income and working-class people to die unnecessarily?
Senator, first of all, that's overstated by 5.1 million. That is not attributed to this bill. It is simply...
It's a combination. That's true.
No. You all had a scheduled expiration of Obamacare subsidies, and you did not extend that when you were in charge. 5.1 million, 1.4 million illegal aliens on Medicaid.
All right, look,
and there are work requirements. And our goal is to get more money to children and mothers.
Really? Your goal is to get more money to children, and working people. Really, come on. Do you know how many people, and I was surprised to hear this, I don't know if you know it or not, how many people lose their jobs every year, quit, get fired or whatever? Do you have any idea?
Well, there's something called the quits rate, and so when the job market is strong,
I understand.
more people quit.
But yeah, I was surprised that I just researched this. I don't know. Do you happen to know?
I don't know the number.
I was surprised. Would it be shocking to you? It was to me. 20 million people leave their jobs a year. Doesn't shock you, right? It's a big labor force, right?
Yep.
So somebody leaves the job, maybe they move, maybe something happens in their lives, right? We have a lot of transition in the labor market, correct?
Maybe they get a better job.
Right, exactly. Maybe they do. Or maybe they have to stay home, their wife gets sick, whatever, we don't know. But 20 million people lose their jobs in a given year, leave their jobs in a given year. Are those people lazy? What happens when I leave my job and maybe I have to move to another state to take care of my ill mother? And I desperately need Medicaid. Am I too lazy now to be able to get Medicaid?
I think that's a mischaracterization of the work requirement.
Really? Well, I'm not quite so sure it is.
I don't know if you caught it there or not, but this sleazebag, Scott Bessent, had to stifle a laugh. He started to laugh a little bit there when he talked about how they're going to help low-income families with their health care. And Bernie Sanders knows the answer to the question, but when he asks Scott Bessent about how many people will die in order for billionaires to get their tax breaks, the answer to the question is Scott Bessent and these other MAGA goons and Donald Trump and his henchmen, they don't care. If you can't afford health care, sucks to be you in their mind. And Scott Bessent does bring up a sad point here that the Democrats could have extended the subsidies for Obamacare, and they could have raised taxes when they had the presidency and both houses of Congress. Now, Bernie Sanders is somebody who, Scott Bessent says you guys, but Bernie Sanders is somebody who tried to do these things, who would like to raise taxes at the top, to have a more equitable tax rate and tax policy, but unfortunately, there's only one Bernie Sanders, and there are a whole bunch of corporate Democrats working against Bernie Sanders, corporate Democrats who put their thumb on the scale to make sure that Bernie Sanders wasn't elected president of the United States and put Joe Biden in there. But Scott Bessent knows all of this. The truth of the matter is when people talk about conspiracy theories, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but we have one big conspiracy theory that's right out in the open for everybody to see. They're not hiding it, especially people like Scott Bessent and Donald Trump's administration. They're not hiding the fact that our government, both parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, exist to serve billionaires, large corporations, and very rich people. And the sad fact is we don't have 100 people like Bernie Sanders. We have a few. We've got AOC. We have Mamdani, who's a rising star in the Democratic Party. We have Elizabeth Warren, who will actually go after these scumbags like Scott Bessent. But we have a whole lot of people who really control the Democratic Party who aren't willing to go after scumbags like Scott Bessent and Donald Trump. But at any rate, as is always the case in these congressional hearings, Bernie Sanders does a great job grilling Scott Bessent here, asking him tough questions about cuts to Medicare, about some of the things that are going on in the big BS bill. But Scott Bessent can sit there and smirk and stifle a laugh because he knows that nothing's going to happen to him. He's going to continue to be rich. The MAGA administration is going to continue to cater to the super rich. The Democrats may gain some control back in the midterms, but we'll see what they do. And I love to see Bernie Sanders grill these guys, but it also makes me kind of sad to know that Bernie Sanders can only do so much because he's just one person and there aren't 100 more people like him in Congress and in Washington. But let me know what you think about all of this. This was a short one, but I wanted to share this. Sometimes it's nice to just see something that, in my opinion, is positive like this. Bernie Sanders taking down a scumbag in whatever way he can. But let me know what you think about this. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I am Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.